So let's start the webinar. So welcome to you all. We really appreciate you taking time to tune in to our latest webinar. At this time, we're talking about easy onboarding, about how your authoring tool can save you time and money. So I'm Hugh Edwards, a business development executive here at Gomo Learning. We're also joined by Simon Waldron, our customer success manager. So Simon, I'm going to pass over to you for you to set the agenda for us today.
Thank you very much, Hugh, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody. I would just like to add to that, I'm also sort of Nottinghamshire based, and it absolutely is grey, cloudy, and not particularly pleasant outside. So it does sound like Hugh. It's very similar for all of us in the UK today, but it's great to hear that there are people on this call that do have some sunshine. So please make the most of it. But absolutely, we're really looking forward today to go through a lot of this easy onboarding content for you and have a look at what we can do to give you some top tips and guidance about how we can sort of improve or at least give you the tools to get better return on investment. So the agenda today, how an authoring tool can improve your onboarding return on investment, the 7 authoring tool features that strengthen onboarding e-learning, and again, the return on investment. Also 4 ways your design choices can save you time and money. And 5 reasons why a cloud-based authoring tool is the most cost-effective option. We'll be going into detail of all of those agenda items today. But what I'd like to do is start off with a quick poll just to see what different people's experiences are on today's webinar. So what you should see in a moment is the option to answer the poll. And our poll questions for today, we're going to have, do you use e-learning to onboard new starters? If you could please select the option from yes, no, or partially, because perhaps you do use it, but as part of a blended learning approach. Be very interested to know if you already use this as a way of onboarding. So we'll just take a few moments between each question, just so everyone has time to answer. Excellent. Well, thank you for that. We can see there's an interesting split here. So we 47% here that's showing that, yes, we absolutely do use e-learning to onboard new starters. Around 20% are saying they don't at the moment. And also we have 33% partially. So suggesting that you use it as part of a blended learning approach with your onboarding program. That's really encouraging to see. So thank you for that. We also have a couple more poll questions. So one that's very much current at the moment, and we'd like to ask is that, has the COVID-19 pandemic impacted how you deliver your onboarding programs? So we have some of the options here that yes, it does, because we've had staff that have to work remotely and that could have affected it. We have other reason, but that could be simply because you've had maybe a freeze on recruitment or any other reason entirely. Please do select that option. And if it hasn't had any impact and it's sort of been sort of standard onboarding procedures, please do select the no option. Excellent. So we can very clearly see that it's certainly impacted your onboarding programs from a large 79% here due to staff working remotely. And we certainly see a lot of that with our customers and our own businesses in the way that we've had to deliver things differently, certainly this year to date. And yes, for the other reasons. So absolutely, we can see there that there's not been any instance where it hasn't had an impact with onboarding. And finally, if I may, we'd just like to ask how confident you are at knowing which features you can use in an authoring tool to drive those efficiencies. So if you're very confident, fairly confident, or you're not confident yet with using the features within your authoring tools to help those efficiency gains. And we'll be going through a lot of those top tips today as well. So rest assured, if you're not confident at all, we'd like to think that by the time we get to the end of this webinar, we've been able to provide some additional information for you that you could use in practice. Well, thank you everyone for answering our initial polls. And we can see here that we have a small percentage that are very confident, sort of around half that are fairly confident and around a third that are not confident. So we have a good mix of attendees today. And what I'd like to see is that we can provide some valuable information for you during this webinar that can increase your overall confidence or at least knowledge of what you can do with your authoring tools to improve your efficiencies with onboarding. So thank you very much for your contributions. So let's take a look at how an authoring tool can improve your onboarding with the return on investment. And we're going to start with taking a look at what the role of e-learning is with this. So from our perspective, a good onboarding program, it's like a rocket putting a satellite into space. It takes time, energy, and preparation to successfully put a new person into your orbit. Every failure to launch is costly, and the goal is to keep everyone up there for the long haul. The benefits of a good onboarding program are significant. You can create an exciting and welcoming first impression whilst reinforcing your brand values and introducing your learner to your business goals. After all, who doesn't prefer, to know what they're doing and why they're doing something? Being clear and defined with those objectives. In an interesting survey, according to Glassdoor, the average US employer spends around $4,000 per hire. And that is only the cost up until the employee walks through the door. And we'll talk about pre-boarding. Obviously, that cost becomes, more negligible the longer you retain that employee. So it's critical that we have this good onboarding experience, and it's something that continues throughout the length of the employment. However, with as much as 20% of turnover occurring in the first 45 days of employment, as we just picked up, ensuring that suitable employee stay is just as important as ensuring that your hiring efforts are finding the right people in the first place. The benefits of getting onboarding right are realized across your entire business. With happy, engaged employees reaching full productivity more quickly, your authoring tool can be the driving force behind this effort, providing those small savings that add up in the long term, and importantly, when scaled to a global audience. So you're setting yourself up with the right platform and the right foundations and processes. So firstly, it's worth describing what a good onboarding experience actually looks like from our top tips. It starts before the first day with pre-boarding. So everything up into the point where they walk through the door, that's all of the pre-boarding stages. And we'll get onto some of the top tips we can deliver and support you with around that. It persists throughout the probation period and beyond, as we mentioned. It shouldn't be overwhelming. New information should be carefully managed and provide micro-learning, bite-sized learning. And it involves plenty of two-way communication and regular check-ins. Ensure we're always communicating. It isn't just about the paperwork and the compliance. We recognize that the sooner that you start covering the parts of the actual job, the sooner you're going to engage with your employee. And don't be afraid to engage with the subject matter experts. Don't put it on any one team, not just a HR team. They're going to struggle with specifics, requirements within those jobs. So work collaboratively and collectively. It has a social element too. Establishing those friendships and spending time with colleagues, they're an important factor for many people. Setting that culture. And it should be transparent. New hires should have an idea of what is coming up and how they're progressing. And preferably, you can deliver that through a structured plan supported with your e-learning. Of course, it has a self-service element. New hires should be able to go somewhere to remind themselves about those processes, the people, and how to complete those tasks. And hopefully you'll be able to see throughout this webinar that e-learning can provide a fast, easy, and effective, and importantly, we mentioned scalable route to many of these top tips. So let's take a look at step one. How do we play to e-learning's natural onboarding strengths? It's a perfect fit for many large volume of compliance content that employees must work through in their first weeks. This can typically include health and safety, anti-corruption, cybersecurity, data protection. I'm sure you've heard of all of these many, many times. And this type of content is easy to replicate and scale across every new hire. And your authoring tool will make it simple to create, maintain, and monitor, and also improve based on feedback. E-learning has a much bigger role to play than this, however. It can be an effective and easy way of training your employees in processes, in typical tasks, providing supporting information, FAQs, and product knowledge. Your new employees are more likely to hit the ground running if they can access this kind of information in their moment of need. So coming back to that micro-learning and making sure it's accessible. E-learning courses, they're most effective when helping employees navigate, and pick their way of working through the responsibilities that's being asked of them. It's much better to do that and provide it through an accessible format than to expect someone to go back and use an existing document that's stored on a system or intranet somewhere. And design elements, such as themes, images, and video, can let you help new hires quickly pick up the culture and familiarize themselves. For a specific sort of meet the team segment, I always find they're really helpful. You could also use media featuring your workplace and colleagues, regardless of the topic. So I come back to familiarization there, especially important now where most of us and a lot of the workforces are working virtually. It's always worth keeping track of all these materials and maintaining an easy to find library, whether that be stored on your LMS, your LXP, your intranet, some sort of shared digital resources. And not only because of the sort of self-service opportunities for new hires, but because individuals in other areas of the business would benefit from having access to this. So let's take a look at step 2. How can e-learning, how can it help us with the pre-boarding stage, as we mentioned, all the way up until the point where the employee is going to walk through the door on the first day? Well, before they start on that first day, we should be seizing that opportunity to engage and integrate them. The activities, naturally, they should be light because we're not paying them yet, but we want to give them a good experience. And pre-boarding can help with that, with a steady flow of information, but without overwhelming them. So we can drip feed that, make sure it's value added and make them feel supported. And typical activities can include things like sending the HR paperwork and employee handbooks, the kind of things that employees may browse at their own leisure before arriving on their first day. And it also removes that sort of unnecessarily rushed activity that can happen on the first day where you're just providing all of that information. Through important HR paperwork and handbooks, not necessarily the most exciting materials to receive, but if you could blend that with e-learning, you could use those tools to create more presentation-based materials and help raise that anticipation a little more on the build up to the job. So for example, we could create a version of the employee handbook, and it could be a course that presents an opportunity to meet the team and be welcomed through like a pre-recorded introduction video that's been recorded with your CEO or your managing director to help that new employee familiarize themselves with the surroundings, the culture, and the people that they're going to be investing a lot of their time and energy into, and likewise reciprocated. Your new hire could find out more about the office and relevant locations, hopefully when everyone's able to access those. But again, it comes back to that familiarization piece, and it can be even more important now to make people feel like they're part of the bigger culture within the businesses. It could be about the additional information and what they can be expecting and reassured about that's coming in the weeks ahead of them. The emphasis for pre-boarding is on informing rather than testing. This is a technology and security consideration as much as it is a content one. For example, Gomo allows you to share an e-learning course link with anyone through hosting. And you could easily build a quiz for entertainment purposes, even if it may be difficult to trace as yet unregistered users, because at this point, we're just providing information. We're not testing. We're trying to improve the experience and build up that excitement for the employee for their first day. So finally, let's take a look at step 3. How e-learning can help in other areas for onboarding. Well, some of the ideas in our list, they may seem less relevant to e-learning, particularly regular check-ins and the social element, but it's worth noting that at the time of us delivering this now, where we are, many businesses are still dealing with workforces under the COVID-19 restrictions, as we've seen in our poll. And a new future of more flexible work seems increasingly likely once those restrictions are lifted. There's going to be a lot of the things that we have started to do over the last 6 to 9 months that are going to stick, and they are going to improve the ways that we work with cloud-based systems and digital communications. Other tech will allow us to keep checking in and socializing with our new hires as part of our blended learning approach, which again, I'm really happy to see on our polls. I can see, that there's a large percentage of you that are already taking a blended learning approach. And the fact that these once relatively effortless methods of inclusion are that much more complicated just makes it more important to get all other aspects of onboarding right. So now what I'd like to do is sort of introduce you now to Hugh, who's going to cover the 7 authoring tool features that can strengthen your onboarding. So over to you, Hugh.
Thank you, Simon, and welcome to those of you who have tuned in since we started the webinar. And please feel free to just add your own experiences and comments and questions in the question panel, and we'll try and pick those up as we go along and summarize at the end. So yeah, following on from what Simon's been saying there, I just wanted to run through here the 7 authoring tool features that we really think are going to strengthen the onboarding through e-learning and looking at the really increasing the ROI. And one of the first things here is, when looking at this, is really looking at the idea that you don't want to be building everything from scratch each time, that you want to be able to get that scalability that just by being able to reuse things that you've already created. And with that in mind, that we'd recommend looking out for the following features. The first thing is about look for true multi-device e-learning. That what you don't want to have to do each time is to start off creating your desktop version and then having to create a tablet version and a smartphone version, and because that's obviously going to take you three times as much effort. And it's as silly as it might sound, that almost after a decade of having device agnostic and responsive web standards, it's still the way that some authoring tools force you to work. And that's going to really increase your development time. So we'd recommend, obviously, a tool such as Gomo that's going to let you just focus on the learning content, and then it's going to take care of making sure that that just runs on whatever screen, whatever device your learners are going to want to access the learning on. The next thing is about looking for, again, this idea of speeding things up. Look for a tool that has a wide range of interactions, sort of asset types, because you don't want to be creating those from scratch each time, and particularly you don't want to have to become a skilled programmer or have to employ developers within the L&D team just to put together these interactive elements. So the more that you've got these high value, high visual appeal assets in your tool, then the better, because it's going to mean that they're quick to implement. while providing some sort of really satisfying, complex interactions that your learners are going to love. And as learning designers, you're going to be able to enjoy designing into your learning. So one thing that I'd like to show here is within this. Just move my screen here. What I mean by a wide range of rich interactions, that this is what we call the Gomo Interactions Reference Library. It's just a Gomo course, which we put together to show the range of things available. Really useful starting point for our Gomo customers when they're considering, in terms of the learning design, what things have I already got built into Gomo that I can use. And by the way, I can see that we have some existing customers. Welcome to you. That if you would like this copied into your Gomo account, just let us know and we can do that. So for example, here we can see all the different types of presentation assets here. So again, we're getting away from having to build these ourselves or just relying on just boring text and graphics. So for example, here, if I wanted to look at, say, a comic strip, and I want to see just what this does. So here it's showing me what it's going to look like, and this is an actual live example. So again, look for a range of these interactions. So within Gomo, we've got a lot of these assets which are designed to show sequences of images with associated text, but in a very sort of interesting, interactive way. We're not just throwing images and text on the screen there. So that's the idea of looking for a wide range of pre-built elements, what we call assets in Gomo. The next thing here is the use of screen templates and style templates. So this can, again, really speed up your development. So when you want to build your courses, particularly for onboarding learners, individuals, then look for screen templates that you can simply drop in there, predefined layouts that you can just choose to edit and add in more content. But it's a great starting point. And again, in Gomo, you'll find a wide range of these screen level templates. But the other important thing can be about what we call themes in Gomo, style templates. And those of you who have attended our previous webinars on visual design, we went into this in quite great depth. But what a style template can do is give you instant branding, make your courses look instantly recognizable as belonging to your company. And so that it can not only just match the brand colors, but also the whole look and feel that I'm sure that most of you have brand guidelines that express the whole feeling of the brand. So encapsulating that into a style template, a theme in Gomo, can ensure that you're going to have something that is completely on brand and identifiable to your learners, but it also really speeds things up, because if you've got a team of people creating content, as long as everybody selects that same brand theme, that style template, you can be sure that you're going to end up with a consistent on-brand library of content, that you're not going to discover that somebody's used the wrong font and the wrong color. And it also means that increasingly we're seeing that subject matter experts want to be able to create their own content and not just do it all in PowerPoint. Now, those people aren't likely to be graphics experts. So for them, by just being able to click on the theme, the style template representing the company brand, it instantly does the work for them. They don't have to sit there looking up hex color reference values each time that they want to create a screen. So here, look for the concept of both screen level templates, but also style templates that can be applied to a whole course. Really speeds things up. The next thing is multi-language support. Again, we're seeing that this is increasingly important for so many companies operating across the globe. And you could just adopt the one course per language approach, But that then means that if you're delivering in multiple languages, you're having to deal with multiple versions of the same course. And that can become a real nightmare when you want to make changes. It also, in terms of delivery, it means that you end up with this huge range of different SCORM packages for the same course representing the different languages. So a much more cost-effective and time-efficient way of doing this is to look for a tool that supports multiple languages within a single course. So the learner can just choose which language they want to view the content in, and it's just one course that you have to maintain. So for example, in Gomo, that you can just create your course, say, in the base language, say English. You then add in the languages that you want to add as language layers. And then with a single click, you can export all of that text. It puts it into the so-called XLIF standard. Again, this is just the international standard for language translation. Again, it makes your life so much easier. You just send what Gomo gives you, this XLIF format, out to any translation agency. They'll understand the format. They'll send it back to you, translated and regionalized, single click to import it. And that's all that you have to do in terms of the language translation. But also it can be important, in addition to the translated text, to be able to change say, the images and the video for the different languages. So you can have proper localization of courses. So you're presenting imagery that's more regionally or culturally relevant, for example. So look out for those kind of features in terms of just saving you time and just reducing the amount of effort that you have to put into delivering the content to your learners wherever they happen to be in the world, whatever language they're speaking. The other thing is that in addition to creating content, that it's important to think about how you're actually going to deliver that to your learner. That I'm sure that we're all familiar with things like the SCORM standards and the idea of learning management systems, where you upload the content to the LMS. But just watch out in terms of the sheer cost of that. That I know for a lot of our customers, that whole process of, okay, great, I've now finished the course, it's ready for delivery. You publish out the course, you then send it off to be uploaded by your LMS administrators. And then on the day that it's going to go live, you suddenly discover that despite all your checking, that there's a spelling mistake or somebody's job title has changed. So you have to go in, make the change, republish, and then send it off to your LMS administrators again, which if you're using third-party administrators can also be quite expensive for some of our customers. So for example, in Gomo, we overcome that through what we call the LMS wrapper, where instead of delivering the full Gomo course, the whole package, you just deliver a minute file that you then just get uploaded to your LMS once. And once you've done that, in the future, if you need to make any changes, all you do is go into authoring, make the change, and then just publish it to your Gomo Cloud account. And you don't need to re-upload it to the LMS. So you can go through virtually instant changes to your content and removing that whole time and the whole pain of trying to get a new version of the course uploaded. So do look out, in addition to that creation piece, look at how the tool's going to help you when you need to make updates and when you need to actually deliver that content as well. Also have a look at maybe that you want to deliver to learners who aren't in your LMS. Maybe they're not part of your corporate system. Maybe they're new starters to the business, or they're third parties who you don't want to give access into your corporate LMS. So look at the flexibility there. So for example, Gomo has a technique called direct access links, where you can just email out a link to the course. The learner can click on that link on any device. They can run that course. If you want to, you can prompt them for a name and an email address so you can track their progress. But again, look for that flexibility, that your work doesn't stop once you've created the course. Make your life easier by looking at what delivery options are there to make your lives easier. The next thing is about analytics. So you've created this great course. You've used the templates and style themes and so forth. You've delivered that in a quick and easy way. But also the important thing can be to, particularly in terms of ROI, is really looking at what kind of onboarding successes have you been given. That if you're just tracking it from the LMS, then it's quite likely that you'll just see this person has done this course and they got this score, which is fine. You know that they've done it and you know that they've passed, but it doesn't really give you insights into how that's being used. So one thing to look for in your LMS is, does your LMS now go beyond the basic SCORM 1.2 standard? So importantly, does it support, say, SCORM 2004? And does it support the latest XAPI standards? Because if it does, then as long as your authoring tool is also designed to support those, you'll be able to get a far greater level of detail. So you'll be able to see which questions learners got right and wrong. You'll be able to see that everybody was choosing the same wrong answer for a particular question and so forth. So you can actually see how your learning is being used and feed that back into your learning design. But also look out for if maybe your LMS is limited to, say, just basic SCORM 1.2, very basic reporting. By using a tool, as I mentioned, the LMS wrapper that we have in Gomo, that's able to, even if your LMS doesn't do it, it can send back those detailed analytics into, in this case, your Gomo account. So you can actually get far greater insights from that than you would from your LMS. So it can complement what your LMS does and really gives you a way of measuring that kind of onboarding success. Beyond creation and delivery, when you're looking at the benefits of a tool and the kind of ROI that you're likely to get for that, also look at what kind of support you're going to get. That the less time that your team spends getting up to speed, then the more cost effective it's going to be. So look for a range of self-service support resources. So not just the support desk, but what resources are there to just to help you get going. Does your vendor provide customized training? So they'll actually work with you to see what features of a particular tool are going to be important. And also to have a look at that range of offline material. So just to show you an example here, this is something that we've just released that Simon has been instrumental in creating and launching, is our Gomo Academy. So these are micro-learning videos and resources that can be used either sequenced as a complete training course, or you can just choose to dive into particular areas. If there's something that you're not sure about with the tool, you can just go and find the particular video there. And also, for example, in the case of the Gomo Academy here, we're making sure that's available in multiple languages, so that if you've got teams around the world and they don't just want to watch training videos in English, they can just select the language that they want, because this is all based on our instilled learning experience platform there. We can automatically caption and auto-translate there as well. And please do get in touch with us, our existing customers. If you don't already have access to the Gomo Academy, you can just go to academy.gomolearning.com or just ping us a message and we'll send you that link as well. So we've looked at those first 7 tips there. But in addition to the features that you should be looking for in the actual tool, it's also to do with the design choices that you make. So the way that you approach designing the course can have a big impact. And there's, as usual in business, there's a balance between the initial expense for later reward. And it's important to consider how the whole business benefits from L&D's approach. So let's have a look at 4 areas of design that can save you time, either during the making of courses or during the taking of them. The first is about planning and storyboarding. So the way you could think about this is that if you're going to a part of town you've never been to before, that you'll get there quicker if you research your transport options and look at a map. So in e-learning design, things are very much the same. Your destinations are your learning objectives, and the different modes of transportation are assets, and a storyboard is a map you must plot for yourself. So by quickly assembling and iterating on the most efficient learning routes available, you stand a good chance of saving time and money. And remember that making it up as you go is risky. So the beauty of storyboarding, and we covered this in an earlier webinar about planning and storyboarding, and we'll give you the links to the blogs and ebooks for that at the end, is that it lets you map your processes and you can review the learner journey before you commit time into building your course. So, and also if an SME reviews and spots something that needs to change, it's better to do it at the beginning of the planning stage rather than once time has been spent actually building the course content. The next thing is knowing when to use branching scenarios. Now, I really enjoy working with our customers to really create quite intricate, clever mechanisms within Gomo to create sort of say role-based or job role-based branching, dynamic branching through a course. And from a learning design perspective, it can be really exciting and really satisfying to create those sort of complex workflows. But I would say do be careful that if you don't need to do it, then then don't. As I say, even though we all enjoy the challenge of creating things like that, that maybe you can do it something simpler that by using accordion to reveal text appropriate to a job role. And the reason I say that is it can be both in terms of the time it can take to build those complex branching scenarios, but also then in terms of the time and money that you're going to have to spend to try and maintain it. I know from the point of view of Gomo support that we can spend a lot of time trying to unpick and understand a particularly clever mechanism that somebody's created. And if you're the person within the team who's been given the task of updating a course, then you're not going to be too happy if somebody's put together something so complex. It might look brilliant, but you really can't understand what's going on. So just bear that in mind in terms of that saving of money in the future, in terms of the time you're going to have to spend maintaining things. Also here to focus on interactivity. If if you're just using just text and images and overlong video, then your learners are probably going to struggle to engage with the message that you're trying to get across. And as we mentioned in our visual design webinar, that don't just take a PowerPoint deck and just throw it all into your e-learning course. They're just throwing all of the text and all of the images there. Use it as an opportunity to step back, simplify, structure the content, look at ways to be able to make it interactive and make it more interesting for the learner. Also, look at using these assets, these interactions that are going to reduce the time that you're going to force the learner into just navigating, click next and next and next to go from screen to screen. Because everyone gets a bit tired of that kind of e-learning and everybody tries to get from the beginning to the end as quickly as possible. So look at assets such as accordions, which are going to break up your text into headings, a simple click or tap, and they expand to sort of show additional information. And in that way that you're going to be able to reduce the overall number of screens in the course. And that one of our customers was able to reduce a 90-slide presentation deck down to about 60 screens just by using things like film strip assets and really improving interactivity and reducing the navigation time. So now let's just have a look at 5 reasons why a cloud-based authoring tool is the most cost-efficient option. That organizations are increasingly relying on cloud-based solution to provide a range of essential tools. So we're finding even desktop installations of business thoughts such as Microsoft Office are becoming rarer and rarer. And the cost and time benefits of letting the software provider host, update, and manage the programs they build are obvious. And the same principles remain true for cloud-based e-learning authoring tools, and give us at least 5 reasons why the desktop is dead. So let's just have a look at our top 5 here. The first thing is that you don't need to involve your IT team. So even a piece of desktop software that works on every machine it's installed on is going to require your organization's IT team to step in at some point. So desktop software has to be installed and supported and license keys managed and so forth. And your IT team will have to keep track of those licenses that are in use, and where people exit and enter the business, they have to reallocate those licenses. But if you subscribe to a cloud-based tool, then your IT team will barely have to lift a finger. So as long as the internet connection is up and your browser works, you'll be able to log in and work. Second point is low system requirements, because really these days, every desktop and laptop machine in your business can run a modern web browser such as Google Chrome, and it's more or less guaranteed to be able to run a cloud-based authoring tool as well as every other machine in the office. But with a desktop tool, then you end up having to have a higher end computer, you need better processing power and so forth. But with a cloud-based tool, then the processing time is almost entirely dependent on the tool's servers. Provided you have a reliable internet connection, you have very little to worry about. A third really useful thing is with a cloud-based tool that you always have the latest versions of the software. So you don't have to worry about updating. But that's not true if you've got desktop authoring tools. Because imagine that you haven't used your authoring tool for a few weeks. If it's on a desktop, you'll have to start work without all the latest new features until you manually or automatically download them. And then you're unable to work at all while it's installing that whole raft of updates. And also, you're liable to encounter problems sharing files if you're part of a team of people all working on different versions of the tool. So you might discover that you've only been given version 5.5 and everybody else is on 6 and you can't open their files and so on. But with a cloud-based authoring tool, that's updated by the provider and it's on the servers that they use, and they update that outside of your working hours. So no matter how long you're away from the tool for, the latest version is ready and waiting for when you need it. Another key thing here is the idea of centralized resources. So a cloud-based tool doesn't just put your courses in the cloud, it will give you a shared space to pull all of your images and video and other assets, making them available team-wide. So this prevents designers from having to maintain their own libraries individually, or the organization having to spend time and money on providing and secure something similar on their own network. And finally, collaborative working. This is just so important, particularly when we're all in lockdown, we're all working from home, we're just working with distributed teams across the country and usually across the globe. So desktop authoring tools are particularly time and efficient when it comes to working with others. So at best, you'll be messaging each other to coordinate when the file on your local network is open for editing, forced to take turns by the one at a time nature of the file. And at worst, you'll be emailing each other a succession of half-finished files, so tripping over an increasingly arcane set of version names, such as final version amended Hughes copy, and then you'll find another one saying final version amended Hughes copy V2 and so forth, and nobody's got any idea which one they should be working on. And it can just become a complete mess. So with a cloud-based tool, that it should allow multiple people to work on and review the course that you're creating at once, with no time wasted waiting for others to finish. So particularly say in Gomo, you can have people from around the world collaborating to create the same course. You can have different people working on different parts of the course at the same time. So you don't have to try and track down that latest version so you can contribute. So those are our first 5 top tips for why we really think you should be looking out for a cloud-based authoring tool. It's the most cost-efficient option. So Simon, over to you to just take us through a few thoughts and conclusions there based on what we've been talking about.
Thank you, Hugh, and it's great to hear all of those top tips, and I can certainly relate to those file names that you just mentioned. So, in conclusion, let's take a moment just to think about all of that different information that we've delivered today. And certainly, the parcel I would like to call out for you is to ensure that you're getting the most out of your existing tools. So, what you currently have in your tools already have complex sort of off-the-shelf assets, as Hughes mentioned, things like accordion or image markers and things that can help you get started quickly to develop these onboarding resources. Does your authoring tool make it possible or make it easy for you to save time and money? So as we mentioned, does it provide the opportunity to work collaboratively with your teams? Does it give you the ability to build a course once and have it work beautifully on multiple device types and add many, many languages so that you only build the course once, which is a real time saver? Can you have themes that are used to handle that look and feel and ensure that everything's brand compliant to make sure that your subject matter experts only have to focus on putting that content within the build and not the look and feel? And whether your provider, whether they're helping you to become more efficient, are they providing things like academies and learning resources, knowledge-based articles, helping you to upskill your workforce? Do they have the option for enhanced video call support? Are they working with you to listen and understand your needs? Do they give you an opportunity to have input into the roadmap of your product? I would consider all of these, but please, do take our ebook, which we're going to provide later on in the session, and just have a moment to reflect on how that use case can fit with you and what benefits you can get, which will importantly impact on your return on investment. So if you could just stay for a few moments longer, we'd really appreciate it. We have a poll question that we'd just like to put on the screen for you. And it's just coming back to again to see, have we increased any of that confidence for you about knowing which features that you can use with your authoring tool to drive those efficiencies? So we'd really appreciate it if you could just take a few moments just to answer if you're very confident, fairly confident, or you're still not confident. And again, we'll just take a few moments as we have the audience answer the question. Well, that's really, really good to hear. So thank you very much for that contribution. We can see now that there's certainly an increase in confidence amongst our audience today from going through all of these top tips. So our final question before we provide all the links for you is one about Gomo. So I do recognize we have existing customers online, so it's great to have you here today. But if you are new to Gomo and you'd like to find out anything additional, please do let us know on this quick poll. So in a moment, we'll be putting the link for you in the chat that you'll be able to follow and go and find all of our resources. So I'm just going to
do that.
Okay. So that's just going to be sent to everyone. So please do visit our website. It's going to provide you all of these quality guides for you to reinforce all of the understanding that Hugh and I have been delivering over these webinars. And finally, we'll be providing a link to you as well for how you can find out more. So please do contact us if you require a trial, and do visit our website for additional information, but we're always here to consult with you too. So thank you very much, everyone, for today. We really appreciate your attendance. And Hugh, thank you very much.
Thank you, Simon, and thank you everyone for tuning in. We really appreciate it.